Ladies and gentlemen, what's happening? Want to give you a little walkthrough on how to set up calendar menus, service menus, calendar groups, etc. within DU. And this has come up frequently with myself recently and others that we're helping out. And so I thought, you know what, let me record something on it because it's a super helpful way to manage multiple types of bookings or calendars or services that you might have, and maybe they have different timestamps, or not timestamps, but blocks of time required for them and different payment amounts, etc. And so this is particularly helpful for you if that's the case. And I want to show you an example actually that we got from a good buddy of mine, and his name is Kenny. He's the owner of Viva Vida Media, photography, videography, and I'm going to show you kind of what we did because all this was built within DU. The services menu here that we're going to show you, this is what it looks like. So as you can see, it's a booking landing spot, and he's got all kinds of different types of bookings that are done for different services, whether it's graduation shoots, senior photos, families, weddings, you name it. And they all have different time commitments. They all have different pricing blocks as well. And so that's the reason why we created a service menu to account for that. And so it could be something that you have for your hair salon, for your car dealing business, for your barbershop, for your nail salon, like whatever it is. If there's different types of bookings that you would have, this would be a good solution for it. And so I want to show you kind of what this looks like in action. Okay. So let's jump right into it. So on the menu here, we're going to see we're in the calendar section already. Want to go into our calendar settings, and if you haven't already, you're going to need to connect your calendar via the connections tab here. If you're already watching this, there's a good probability you already have that. So as you can see, I got my Google Calendar connected. You can connect whatever calendar that you need to. All right. But the way to look at this here, when you're creating a service menu, the way that the system works out is it blocks it into groups, the calendars, and then the service menu. So you have various calendars, regardless of what they are. As you can see in that one menu, we had multiple calendars, like 10 or 12. And then those calendars could be actually applied into groups. So you categorize them accordingly. So maybe, you're doing, let's just say, commercial type accounts. And then you got another one for residential accounts, and then another one for personal, or whatever it is, right? You can group them accordingly, depending on what it's for or what your business is. And so think about it in that perspective, where you got calendars, groups, and then the service menu, which holds all that together. All right. And so as you can see here, I got a bunch of test ones that I've been playing with, and we got in here and we were messing with and whatnot. So, but I'm going to kind of start from scratch to show you what this kind of looks like. And so let's go ahead and just create a new calendar. And then the key here is that it's got to be a service booking calendar, service menu, if you're going to use it for this particular purpose. Okay. And so in this case, I'm going to put test service calendar, and I'm going to call it, let's pretend we got a barber business. Okay. A barbershop test service calendar. All right. We're going to pretend that's the case for this. You can add your description, all that. I'm not going to get too fancy on this one here particularly, but you can assign it to a particular staff member. If you got multiple staff members within here, you can do that. It's going to require at least one, so I'll put myself here. And we're going to give it a slug. So barber shop test service calendar. All right. It can be whatever you need it to be. Let's just say this is a 30-minute slot. Okay. If you want to go to the advanced settings, you're going to notice you got some other things that pop up here, allowing you to customize it with, logos, apply it to a group existing if there's one already in here. Okay. Meeting locations, all this fun stuff. Okay. A lot of different stuff here. Along the left-hand side here, you're going to see other options that are typical for a calendar, which is like your availability that you're going to have in here. You can put buffers in here if you need to. We're not going to get into all that right now. Okay. And if you have a custom form that you want to collect certain information about a client, so maybe in this barber shop example here, we're saying, oh, maybe they want, maybe it's for a men's haircut or a woman's haircut or a kid's haircut, or maybe they want beard trim if it's a male as well. You can create a custom form that then you connect to this, okay, and it picks from that form. So, but in this case, I don't have a custom form for that. I do have other forms that we could use. I'm just going to leave it defaulted where it's going to ask for this information: first name, last name, email, phone, and notes. Okay, because this is just for example purposes. All the other things you can do here, if you want to redirect them to another URL like a home page or something else, you can put that in position as well. We won't get into the metapixel options is here, but for retargeting and all that stuff, you can use this for that kind of stuff. And then obviously payment gateways if this particular booking is going to be a paid for booking. Okay, we're not going to mess with that. I'll toggle this through here. I like to include this option as well, so you can always alert them, about set appointments that are being booked. Okay, you can play with these options. Cover photo for the service menu itself, which is basically like a banner or header that goes on there. And then, of course, if you want to customize it with colors and whatnot. We're not getting into rooms or equipment, although this is a really cool option if you do have a business that has various locations or various rooms. In the past, we've created one for gyms that are in different locations, right? That's an example of one. In this example, we're not going to be doing that. But if we did have a barbershop and there's multiple seats, this might be one of those things where you have different seats for each particular barber that somebody can book from. And so it goes on their specific calendar if they book for that particular barber. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and save this. And now you'll be able to see that we got our calendar. Where's our calendar at? Next page, probably. Yep, right here. Barbershop test service calendar. Okay. So now that we got this service calendar created, you can see the type of it here. You can always go back and edit it, of course. But let's say we like what that looks like. You'll go to your service menu tab, and here's where we're going to create a service menu. Okay. We're going to call it Barbershop Test Service Menu. We'll just do that for funsies. And a lot of people don't pay attention to the slug, but the slug actually is important for SEO purposes. So food for thought. Not a bad idea to make sure you put some thought into what that actually is, because people that are searching for it, Google will take that into account to determine what they put in front of them. All right, by default, it leaves all this stuff selected here. You don't have to enable it to add guests if there's not extra people, etc. Again, this is all customizable depending on what your business is. Okay, and in this case, if you go to your services option, remember I said there's calendars, groups, and then the service calendar. So if you had multiple calendars in place, and let's say the barbershop example, and in this shop you had barbers, you had nail techs, you had people do waxing, etc. Let's just say those are 3 different categories. You could create groups for each of those categories. So let's say you had 3 barbers in your business, you had 3 nail techs, you had 3 people that do facials and wax and whatnot, right? You could have a group for each one of those, and then you would group those specific calendars within that group. And so their calendar is connected to that. So if somebody books on their calendar, then they're going to be the ones that see that on their calendar, etc. But it's all going to be listed on the service calendar, which we're getting to. So, all right. So we're not going to select any of these right now because we don't have a group that's connected to it. All right. We're going to just go ahead and save this. And you'll see it show up here. So if I was to open this up, all right, we're just going to copy this, open up a new tab, and show you what it would look like. Currently, there's nothing here, right? So it just looks like this. If we had the logo or the header image that we talked about, it'd be located up here as well. All right. So let's go back here so we can see what this looks like. So we have our service calendar that we created. Okay. Right here. Now, remember, we just haven't assigned it to a specific group yet. Okay. So if we go back in and edit the calendar and we scroll down, again, you're going to see the option to put it in a particular group. Okay. Now, we don't have a group yet for this. So we're going to go back and we're going to actually create a group for this. Okay. So right here, you're going to create a new group. Oops. So barbershop test group. Okay. I should have renamed it something else for the salon idea because I like that better. But already here. So okay, we're gonna do that. All right, so now we got this here. It says a group successfully created. You can default this and choose which ones you want added to it. We'll go ahead and do that and add it here. So there's multiple ways to slice this. You can do it right there because it alerts you for it. Or again, you can go back into your calendar, edit it, and then add the group down here, which it already added it for us. Okay. If we're getting a little bit more complicated, there's again rooms and equipment that you can add to it, but we're not going there. Multiple ways to slice this cat. So if I go ahead and refresh this, oh, it hasn't showed up because we need to do it in the service menu. So let's go to the service menu here. We're going to edit this. And again, we're going to select services. We're going to add the group that we want. So in this case, it's the barber group here. Okay. We're going to save that. All right. So now before I show you the kind of the end result here, again, we have one calendar. It's added to a group. And we have the service calendar that's connected to that group. Okay. But again, in that example that I showed you, let's say we have, you know, not just barbers, but we got nail techs. So let's duplicate this calendar just for an example purpose. And we're going to rename this something else. Okay. We're going to do nail tech test service calendar. We'll call it that. Okay. That sounds fun. And as you can see, it leaves everything else the same. So it's going to put it in that barbershop test group. Okay. We're going to save that. Okay. Bam. All right. And well, let's rename it too. So the service name is we called it nail tech test service calendar. All right, back up out of here. We're going to do that one more time for the facial waxing idea that I said, just so we have some stuff here, make it look a little bit more full. So we're going to duplicate this, and then we're just going to change the name. Okay. Facial and waxing test service calendar. Okay. Oops. That looks good. All right, we'll leave it at that. All right, and remember, everything else stayed the same. So it left it defaulted with me as the person that would book or the calendar that it's going on. It's already assigned to the barber shop test group. Okay, everything all is the same. Makes it really simple. So now if I go back into the service menu, which is this one, and use that link, which I already got it here. Let's just refresh this. And bam, now you'll notice that there is a group here, right? And, oh, back up. We need to make sure that those other ones are added to it. So let's just go in here. We're going to edit this real quick. Okay. All right, we got to make sure these are checked. So you go into the service menu, and then you got to select the calendar to add to it. Then save it. All right. And as you can see, now we got 3 different calendars. Okay. So again, we can go really multi-layered here if you really wanted to. In this case, it's just one calendar for each one of these services. But you could have multiple barbers within this section. You could have multiple barbers within this section. You could have multiple, nail techs here, facial and waxing individuals, experts in this section here. And so then they could pick who it is that they're scheduling with, and they don't see everybody's calendar on the back end. It's all connected back here. If you had different staff, if you had extra staff members that were assigned to this and had their calendars connected, then that's all stuff you're going to see on the back end. But from this perspective, the customer's perspective, they're just going to see the type of service that they're going to be booking for. And then depending on how you assign it, because you can put it so where they have the option to pick the nail tech, the barber, the facial waxing consultant, etc., they'll have the option to do that. Because if you remember, in the calendar section, we have the option right here to choose the members, right? And you would assign it to a particular member. But previously we had set, checked the setting that allowed them to pick who it was that they were going to book with. Okay. So the point is that you can have multiple calendars connected to this thing. So then maybe you have a specific group that's for barbers and one for nail techs and one for facial waxing. Okay. That's another way to slice it. But there's a really cool way to have multiple calendars booked in here. And it might not necessarily be for a service like this. It could just be you have a team of people, you have multiple calendars that need to be connected, and you need to organize it in such a way, because then all you do with this is you embed it within your page. You can dress it up again with your logo and your header and stuff, and then it looks a little fancier like this. Looks really clean because you can add an image to it, right, for each one of these services that are being offered. Because in here, if we go to book it, I didn't add any images or whatnot to the service calendar, right? You'd have to do that in here. Customization, right? Add a service cover image, and that would basically show up right here, okay, as the preview. And then obviously you can add a description and all that fun stuff to it, okay? But in a nutshell, that's how you create a service calendar in a service group in a service menu. And when the end product's done and you have it placed up on there with logos and images and preview text, etc., it looks really sharp. It's a great way to organize your business and get your operations smoothly in place when it comes to bookings, because calendars can get a little bit messy. All right. I hope that was of value to you, and we will catch you on the next one. All right. We'll see you.